I try to cook with butter as much as I can or ghee as much as I can, but depending on the food that you're cooking, it burns it, right? So that's the reality of it. So you can't always do that. I personally cook with olive oil if I need to.
Yeah, I don't think I've bought food from a supermarket now, apart from emergency stuff, but I haven't done a food shop in a supermarket for about 7 years now.
I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't realize is health is not just literally about what you're putting on and in your body. It's about that feeling of feeling fulfilled. It's about living with purpose, feeling like you're doing something to contribute to the world, even if it's something small.
Welcome to The Wellness Way with me, Philly J. Lay, a layperson's guide to your natural health systems, your very own NHS.
Hello, lovely people, and welcome to another fantastic episode of The Wellness Way. And I have a woman that I am so excited to introduce you to today. She is my first Canadian guest. And you know how I've supported Canada over the last 3 years. So without further ado, because we have so much to talk about. We're kind of like sisters from another mother. We are both activists and campaigners. I want to introduce you to Tania The Herbalist. Tania, welcome to The Wellness Way.
Thank you so much. And I'm so happy to be your first Canadian.
Oh, gosh. I want you to tell us your story and introduce you to my audience.
Yes, for sure. Because a lot of people wonder, even for example, when the last 3 years came around, and I never even knew herbalism was a thing. I didn't know that it was actually a thing at all. And I get a lot of like my fierceness, my fight, my courageousness, my knowledge. I get that a lot from her. So you can imagine seeing that person in your life on their bed and no longer communicating. And so
Yeah,
I had a
tragic.
breakdown of my own. I had a total meltdown of my own. And I decided to take some time off work and try to gather myself. I was having chronic anxiety trying to deal with life. And I felt like I was grieving my mom while she was physically still alive. And so I sat by nature every single day for a week. I meditated for the first time ever in my life, trying to work through a guided meditation because my mind was, being my worst enemy. And I guess I had connected enough by sitting in nature and trying to quiet my mind just enough that like nature spoke to me or something happened because I looked around and I had my aha moment and I was like, there's something natural.
Mm.
Once you realize that, it's like it was a game changer. And that's when you start to like there's just so many rabbit holes. And then synthetic vitamins, which is another big industry that people don't realize,
Yep.
that there's a lot of 90+% of the vitamins on the industry are synthetic that are horrible for you. You're not better off not taking any of them.
Yeah, but most of those supermarket, I call them kind of supermarket vitamins, are just absolutely stuffed with fillers. There's some terrible stuff in them. It's beyond our control on the greater, bigger picture, but there is so much that you can do on the smaller picture. And it's just about taking baby steps. When you know these things, you can't unlearn them, can you?
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think I've bought food from a supermarket now, apart from emergency stuff, but I haven't done a food shop in a supermarket for about 7 years now. And I will never do it again. I get triggered like nothing on earth when I walk in, just looking at all the blooming plastic around it, knowing that those toxins are on it as well. They wanted to test me for celiac, and I've been gluten-free for about 6 months, a year at this point. And they said to me, you're going to have to eat gluten so we can do the test for 6 weeks, the normal amount. And I said, well, what do you call the normal amount? And they said, well, 3 times a day. And I'm just like, crap, did people eat gluten 3 times a day? Or, but they do. You get up and you have cereal, you have toast, or you have a sandwich for lunch, and then you have pasta for dinner. So I did this, and I actually did an experiment because I wanted to know. So I only ate organic gluten because of the desiccation, where they spray all the crops endlessly before they harvest. So I thought, if I only eat organic, will I be okay? And I wasn't. I was incredibly ill. The extraordinary thing for me was that I don't have celiac. And the consultant said to me when I went back for the test results, do you think you have it? I said, absolutely. I haven't stopped vomiting and diarrhea and migraines and, barely got out of bed for 2 weeks. He said, no, you're fine. But my body was turning on itself. I had so many autoimmune diseases, and the body, when it's had enough, turns on itself and it just goes, stop. There's something going on here and you've got to sort yourself out. I want to move away from gluten and talk to you about seed oils, which is
Yeah.
one of my favorite subjects.
It's funny how people are not aware of how, you know, especially here, it's like everyone uses vegetable oil. I'm like, there's no vegetables in that in any way, shape, or form. It's like canola oil, and it's aesthetically fake. It's essentially fake oil. That's the thing. Seed oils, yeah, they're really bad for you in so many ways, shapes, or forms, and it's in everything, everything. I even buy some organic things, and it kills me when I see organic canola oil.
Oh, I've never seen that. You're going,
Like, it actually organic canola oil, like, that doesn't make it any better for you, and because it's like a marketing scheme, sadly, but causes inflammation, it causes, havoc on the body in so many ways, shapes, or form. Really, the only oils that I essentially eat are primarily olive oil and coconut oil and grass-fed butter.
yeah, same as me and G as well. But what would you say about cooking with olive oil? Because I get asked this a lot.
Yes, so I get asked this a lot too. I try to cook with butter as much as I can, or ghee as much as I can, but depending on the food that you're cooking, it burns it, right? So that's the reality of it. So you can't always do that. I personally cook with olive oil if I need to. That's me personally. And I know they say there's a certain temperature. So there's sometimes I cook with avocado oil too. I have a chart, I could probably find it, that talks about at what heat each one can go to and why you use it. So depending on the heat levels, I personally still use olive oil most of the time, and that's maybe because of my Lebanese background and we grew up to olive oil. But if I'm doing something that I can use coconut oil, because coconut oil you can have at the highest heat, that's okay. Olive oil, it depends on how long and the amount of heat that you're actually using on it. Some heat on olive oil, I don't believe is very bad for you.
It's when you're kind of burning it, isn't it?
Exactly. When it's like for longer periods of time, you're sitting there and you're burning it, then you're losing the healthy aspects of it. So I try to use coconut oil, sometimes even combine coconut oil and olive oil to dilute a little bit of the taste of the coconut if it's something that I don't want to taste through the coconut, or avocado oil. But as long as you're moving away, like there's sometimes where I'm making like falafel, for example, I will literally combine coconut oil and olive oil and fry it that way.
I actually get a coconut oil in the UK here, which is odorless. So it doesn't have the taste of coconuts. And I do everything in it. I do my roast veggies now on a Sunday, but it's one of those things that when I
So how do they
bought
make
it,
it odorless?
I don't know. It's
That's where I question things. It's like, so how do you take out the odor out of like the taste out of coconut oil? I'm actually very curious, not like that's very interesting to me, but that is of course the healthiest option to do. Um, but I still like I typically will get I have shipments of olive oil, fresh olive oil that come from the Middle East on the regular from family that send it in. So it's like we pretty much use that stuff for everything. But I usually eat it raw. Like I don't eat fried food. I'll do like an active fry with only the stainless steel or cast iron interior. I do not use like the Teflon, anything like that,
oh
obviously.
no,
But so things like that where you just need like a drop or two like of oil. I don't use very much of it. If I try to use cast iron or grill things as much as I can, or boil it, or not boil it, steam it, put it in the oven. So it's like,
yeah. From there, I'd like to move into food dyes because I know that you're very passionate, and in North America and Canada, you're allowed a lot more food dyes than we are in Europe.
it's very disappointing the amount of food dyes that we are allowed to actually have. I think I have a chart that literally talks about artificial colors, because I want to give the exact number. Artificial food dyes. It's actually disturbing when you actually realize how much it is. Um, in Canada, everything that's like, I have friends that come from Spain and Italy and everything like that, and they talk about how they come and they want to grab like our Skittles and our candies and all that stuff here because it's not legal there. And I'm like, there's a reason why it's not legal, is because of the
Yeah.
amount of food dyes and the carcinogens in them, right? So it causes things like, It's not legal there. Like there's red 2, red 3, um red 1, actually, even 2. There's blue 1, blue 2. Like there's so many different ones that are known to be carcinogens. They're known to cause ADD, asthma, allergies, eczema, which is obviously tied to allergies. And they actually damage like the body because of the artificial food dyes. And it's still high in foods and not discontinued. It's disappointing. And it's found in our foods, our baked goods. They literally, I went to a store and I was going to buy seaweed in a jar. And I don't know why they would have to have blue 1 in the seaweed. Why? Just to make the green, which I didn't even realize that you can do that with the blue 1, just to make the green vibrant in color. And that is actually known to damage
Wow.
the chromosomes and causes cancer and even known to cause brain tumors, things like that. That's perfectly fine selling it in the food that you have.
Now, I remember my daughter when she was younger at school going on a skiing trip with the school to North America. And she messaged me just before she came home. And I said to her, you know, there is a lot of very toxic food. Be very, very careful. And she said, don't worry. I've researched, I've got a little shop where I'm going to buy and make my own picnic lunch each day. She messaged me before she got on the flight and went, Mum, I need vegetables. I just need every vegetable you can get on my plate today. And she came back and she said, I can't tell you how ill I feel from a week of the food. Now, we live a pretty healthy diet at home. I live on the 80-20 rule, so 80 good, and then there is time for treats. But even with that, you know, kind of 20 break, she felt completely sick by the time she came back. And we have got to try and find ways, I think, of getting this information out and asking people to take responsibility for their own health.
Like red 40 is the number 1 artificial dye that's illegal in most countries. I think it might be illegal in the UK as well, red 40.
Yeah.
And it's like a direct correlation with hyperactivity in kids.
I think even if you look at the sheer amount of sugars and even worse than sugars,
Even worse,
sweetness,
100%.
you're looking at children who are going to be bouncing off the wall.
Exactly.
It,
So forget the
it's
food dyes. That doesn't even include the sugar. That doesn't include their diet. That doesn't include everything else. And the stimulation of, TV and all these things that kids are now getting in front of. And yeah. And it's not just that. I mean, kids are kids, right? They're not meant to be 5, 6 years old sitting in a classroom and not moving or really, playing for the first little while. So that's another big thing here too, is because they start school so young and then they expect them to just sit there versus being hyperactive. So you just got a very broken system that's not looking at what's causing it.
I want to talk to you about one more post quickly before we go, which you did, and I just thought was so beautiful. And you talked about the fact that, if you're getting up in the morning and you're having a cup of coffee and you're going to a job that you hate, and you're coming back and you're putting the TV on, you cannot be healthy. And I know that you are a wellness coach. You are a coach as well as a herbalist. And you talk quite a bit about passion, finding your spirituality and your passion. So just as your role as a coach, you just tell our audience.
Yeah. So thanks for saying that, because I I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't realize is health is not just literally about what you're putting on and in your body. It's about that feeling of feeling fulfilled. It's about living with purpose, feeling like you're doing something to contribute to the world, even if it's something small. And I feel like a lot of people are stuck in that 9 to 5 and they think that this is the end all be all and I have no future. And they get stuck in that. And then because they're stuck in that cycle, they're stuck in that I'm tired at nighttime because I used my energy in a job that I didn't like. And so in the morning, I need to overstimulate my nervous system with a cup of coffee before I even put food in because I don't have the motivation. I just need enough to get myself through the day. I was that person too. I lived through that for many years.
If you are enjoying my work, please sign up to my webpage, phillyjlay.com, and you will receive my newsletters and an exclusive Walking into Your Future meditation. And if you buy my course, The Wellness Way Masterclass, Your Natural Wellness Journey, you will get 2 amazing free bonus gifts. My Wellness Awakening album and a video on how I make my herbal teas. And for the full, completely uncensored videos of my podcast, you can come and find me on my Rumble channel, where my guests still have freedom of speech. And join me on my Locals community channel, where I will be building my community and starting my weekly Zoom calls for the price of a cup of coffee a month.